Welcome to my 90-day SAT prep series. In yesterday's video, you were given time to go through and do personalized prep for the SAT math with calculator section. So hopefully you went through practice tests 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, went through any problems that you got incorrect, found out how to get to the correct answer choice, reviewed anything that you were struggling with, and now feel really confident about the math with calculator section. So now that you've done that, today what we're going to do is we're going to do some practice with the math with calculator section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you SAT practice test 8, okay? So you can find it in the description of this video. Go to the College Board's practice test, find SAT practice test 8. Now, you're going to take the math with calculator section of practice test 8 in 45 minutes or less. So on the real SAT, obviously you'll have 55 minutes for the math with calculator section. In this case, the reason I'm giving you 45 is because I don't want you to spend that last 15, 20 minutes that I normally recommend you going through and just checking your answers, just because with this being prep and not the real SAT, you checking your answers is kind of going to be minimal benefit as far as just for prep. Obviously, on the real SAT, you want to do it because it's really important. But with the prep work, I just want to get you as much prep as I can. Also, I want to keep this video as close to an hour as possible since I know it will go over an hour. So you getting that last 10 minutes is just going to push it even longer than an hour. And I don't want you to be too stressed or too overworked going into the SAT, which at this point is right around 13 or 14 days away for you. So today, you're going to want to take the math with calculator section practice test 8. So obviously, I will put it up on your screen when the time starts. You'll have 45 minutes. If you want to go ahead and pull it up, you can. I'll keep talking while you go ahead and pull that up. So after you take that practice test 8 in 45 minutes or less, I'm going to go through and I'm going to complete that same practice test 8, but I'm going to do it in under 32 minutes, okay? This way I can show you how to be efficient on the math with calculator section, and at the same time, it'll allow you to check your work. So make sure that you check if your answer is correct, and also check to make sure you're doing the problems efficiently. So as I go through, in order for me to complete it in under 32 minutes, I have to be pretty efficient. So try to pay attention to also how I'm getting to my correct answers, okay? So I don't go through practice test 8 in under 32. I do go through practice test 8 in under 32 minutes, but as I go through, I don't follow that pacing guide that I showed you before. And the reason is I actually filmed this video before I started my 90-day prep series and before I started the 14-day prep series. So this was just another video on my channel, but I'm just putting it in here so I don't have to re-record it, because it would just be pretty much the same thing, basically just with me doing the problems in a different order, since I would be following my pacing guide. So obviously I'm not following the pacing guide in this video. If I were taking the SAT math with calculator section, I would be following that pacing guide I showed you, and I recommend you do follow that pacing guide. But since this is just showing you how to do the problems efficiently and checking your work, I didn't think it was a big deal and didn't think it was necessary to re-record the video. So after you do practice test 8, I'll go through it, make sure you check your work, check your answers, check how efficient you're being, make sure that you're doing things in an efficient manner. So with that, hopefully yesterday you were able to get some solid prep in, and let's go ahead and get started with practice test 8. So make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and your 45 minutes will begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good luck. Your 45 minutes is now up. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll start playing that video where I go through practice test 8's math with calculator section in under 32 minutes. Once again, make sure that you pay attention to both if you got your answer correct or incorrect, so you'll be grading it as you go through. Also pay attention to if you're getting to your answer efficiently. Okay, so those are the two big main things you want to do with today's video. At the end of today's video, I'll talk about what you're going to be doing tomorrow, as well as some final thoughts. So with that, let's go ahead and begin that 32 minutes of me going through that practice test. 1 pound of grapes costs $2. At this rate, how many dollars will C pounds of grapes cost? All right, well, each pound costs $2, so we're going to have 2 times the amount of pounds we have will be our total cost. So our answer is going to be A, 2C. Question 2. Tracy collects, sells, and trades figurines. She tracks the number of figurines in her collection on the graph below. On what interval did the number of figurines decrease the fastest? That's going to be the interval with the most negative slope, so that's going to be from 3 to 4 months. So our answer is C. All right, question 3. In a random sample of 200 cars of a particular model, 3 have a manufacturing defect. So the number with a manufacturing defect is 3 out of the total 200. At this rate, how many of the 10,000 cars of the same model will have a manufacturing defect? So we're going to solve for X, right? So we had 200 in our sample and we had 3 with a manufacturing defect. Now we have 10,000 and we're asked how many will have a manufacturing defect out of that many. I multiply each side by this 10,000. All right, so multiply each side. I get rid of it here. So now I've got 10,000 times 3. That's going to give me 30,000 over 200. 30,000 over 200. When I plug that into my calculator, I will get 150. So 150 will be my answer, and that is answer choice A. All right, question 4. Dimensions of iris petals. The scatter plot above shows data collected on the lengths and widths of iris setosa petals. A line of best fit for the data is also shown. Based on the line of best fit, the width of an iris setosa petal is 19 millimeters, so that's going to be about right here. What is the predicted length in millimeters of the petal? Well, we're actually given an equation, so what we can do is we can plug in our width, which is 19 for x. So we're going to have 1.67 times 19 plus 21.1. And that's going to give us 52.83. So our answer is going to be C. All right, question 5. In the figure above, lines L and M are parallel. Y is equal to 20 and Z is equal to 60. What is the value of X? Well, since lines L and M are parallel, I see that I have corresponding angles at 20 where Y is and also right here. So I can say that 20 is right where that arrow is pointing. So now I have 60 plus 20, right? So that's going to give me 80. So I do 180 minus 80 to solve for X. 180 minus 80 gives me 100 for X, so my answer is B. Question 6. 2 types of tickets were sold for a concert held at an amphitheater. Tickets to sit on the bench cost $75 each, so 75B, and tickets to sit on the lawn cost $40 each. Organizers of the concert said that 350 tickets had been sold, so that's going to equal our bench seats plus our L seats, and that $19,250 had been raised through ticket sales. So $19,250 had been raised through ticket sales. Which of the following systems could be used to find the number of tickets for bench seats and the number of tickets for lawn seats that were sold at the concert? Well, as you can see, I put it down here. So we're not going to multiply 75B by 40L. We're not going to do that. We're not going to have 40B because each bench seat costs $70, not 40. And we're also not going to have that equal 350, right? That 75 plus 40L has to equal our total revenue. So that's not going to equal that. And B plus L will equal 350. D matches what we wrote as we went through the problem, so that's our answer. Question 7. In the xy plane, the graph of which of the following equations is a line with a slope of 3? Well, that's going to have to be y equals 3x as the first part. So that's going to be C. All right, question 8. In the equation above, which of the following is a possible value of x plus 1? Well, I'm going to multiply each side by x plus 1, which will make it cancel on the right side, and then I'll have x plus 1 squared on my left side. Now I'm asked for the value of x plus 1, not x plus 1 squared, so I'm going to square root each side, and I'm going to see then that x plus 1 will equal root 2. So my answer is going to be B. Question 9. They refer to the following information. I'm given the volume of this little can type thing. So the glass pictured above can hold a maximum volume of 473 cubic centimeters, which is approximately 16 fluid ounces. What is the value of K? All right, well, then I know my volume here, right? That's going to equal that 473. So now I just solve for K. I'm going to multiply each side by 48. So I get 473 times 48. Now I'm going to divide each side by 7 and pi. So I got to divide each side by 7 pi. And that's going to give me my K to the third power. So now I'm going to take the third root of each of these, right? So I take the third root of all that to solve for k. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in my calculator. So I'm going to have the third root of 473 times 48, all divided by 7 pi. And when I do that, I will get the following. I will get 10.11 is going to be my value of k. So my answer is going to be D. Question 10. Water pours into the glass slowly and at a constant rate. Which of the following graphs illustrates the height of the water level as the glass in the glass as it fills? All right, well, if we're pouring water in at a constant rate, it's going to fill faster down here because it has less space that it has to fill. But as we rise up here, we have more space to fill, so the water level isn't going to increase as fast. So we're going to have a big increase in the beginning and then a level off, which we have at C, so our answer is going to be C. All right, question 11. Jenny has a pitcher. Let me just make sure we answered all those up here. We did. All right, question 11. Jenny has a pitcher that contains 1 gallon of water. How many times can Jenny completely fill the glass with 1 gallon of water? We're told 1 gallon equals 128 fluid ounces. And we're told that our glass holds 16 ounces. So we're going to do that 128 divided by 16, and that'll give us our answer of 8. So our answer is going to be 8, which is answer choice B. Question 12. Roberto is an insurance agent who sells 2 types of policies, a $50,000 policy and a $100,000 policy. Last month, his goal was to sell at least 57 insurance policies. While he did not meet his goal, the total value of the policies he sold was over $300,000. Which of the following describes the inequalities? Which of the following systems of inequalities describes X, the number of possible $50,000 policies, and Y, the possible number of $100,000 policies that Roberto sold last month? Well, we know he didn't meet his goal of selling 57, so that means our X plus Y has to be less than 57. So I can find my equations with that. So A could potentially be it, B cannot, and D also cannot, but C also could. So now I look and I'm told that he sold over $3 million worth of policies. So it has to be our 50,000 X plus 100,000 Y has to be greater than that 300 or than that 3 million. We see they have that at C but not at A, so our answer is going to be C. Question 13. If A to the power of -1/2 equals X where A is greater than 0, what is A in terms of X? All right, well, what we can do here is we can raise each side of our equation to the power of -2. Because when we do that, we have A to the power of -1/2 times -2. So we're multiplying our -1/2 by that -2 because we raised this entire side to the power of -2. So -1/2 times -2 will give me 2 over 2, which is 1. So that's just A. And then the A will equal X to the -2. X to the -2 is equal to 1 over X squared. So my answer then will be answer choice C. Okay, question 14. Which of the following is a value of X for which the expression is undefined? Well, we're undefined when our denominator equals 0, so we can ignore this up here. So I'm going to go ahead and factor this out. I see I'm going to have X plus 5 times X minus 2. So I'm not told anything about X has to be greater than or less than a number, right? So I can go ahead and find my solutions, which could potentially be X equals -5 and X equals 2. I see that -5 isn't given, but I see that 2 is given, so my answer choice then will be 2. All right, now I can go ahead and move on to question 15. A granite block in the shape of a right rectangular prism has dimensions 30 centimeters by 40 centimeters by 50 centimeters. The block has a density of 2.8 grams per cubic centimeter. What is the mass of the block in grams? Density is mass over volume. All right, so my density is 2.8, and that's going to equal my mass over my volume. I know that my volume is going to be my 30 times 50 times 40. So my mass then, when I multiply each side by volume, right? So I get V times 2.8. It's going to be 2.8 times that 40 times that 50, and then times that 30. So when I plug that in my calculator, I'm going to get 168,000. So my answer there is going to be answer choice D. All right, question 16. Number of adults contracting colds. The table above shows the results of a research study that investigated the therapeutic value of vitamin C in preventing colds. A random sample of 300 adults received either a vitamin C pill or a sugar pill each day during a 2-week period, and the adults reported whether they contracted a cold during that time period. What proportion of adults who received a sugar pill, so we're only considering the results who received the sugar pill, so this row right here, what proportion of adults who received a sugar pill reported contracting a cold? That would be 33 of our total in that row, which is 150. Now this can be simplified because 3 is a factor of 33 and of 150. 150 over 3 gives me 50, and 33 over 3 gives me 11, so my answer is 11 over 50, which is answer choice B. All right, question 17. Okay, I'm given a table here. I'm told the table shows the distribution of ages of the 20 students enrolled in the college class. What gives the correct order of the mean, median, and mode of the ages? All right, well, mode is going to be my number with the greatest frequency. So that's going to be age 18. That's the minimum, right? That we can't get lower than that. So we know our mode has to be the least of the values. So I can go ahead and get rid of C and D. Okay, now I'm looking at median. All right, so I see I got 3 here, and I've got a 2 here. So I can go ahead and get rid of those, right? So I'll get rid of all those. Now I've gotten rid of 5. So I'll just put a -5 to remember I've gotten rid of 5 there. Now I'll go ahead and get rid of 5 here. I've got 1 left, so I'll get rid of, we'll see, I'll get rid of 4 right here, and I'll get rid of this 1 here, but I still got to take 3 away. When I take 3 away, right, I still have 2 remaining at 19, so I know my median then will be 19. So I've got median is 19, mode is 18. Now I'm going to go ahead and solve for the mean. So solve for the mean, I'm going to plug this into my calculator, so I'm not going to type it down because I got to plug it in. So I'm going to do that age 18 times 6, because that's its frequency, plus age 19 times 5, and then plus 20 times 4, and then plus 21 times 2, plus 22 plus 23, and then plus 30. All right, and then I see that that's all going to be over 6 plus 5 is 11, 11 plus 4 is 15, 15 plus 2 is 17, and 17 plus 1 is 18, plus 1, 19, plus 1, 20. So I divide that number by 20 to get my mean, and I see my mean is 20. So I know that my mean is going to be my greatest, right? I'll put that here just so you guys can see it. Mean's 20. So I know my mode is going to be my least, median is going to be in the middle, and my mean is the greatest. So my answer is A. All right, question 18. The figure below shows the relationships between the percent of leaf litter mass remaining after decomposing for 3 years and mean annual temperature in degrees Celsius in 18 forests in Canada. Line of best fit is also shown. A particular forest in Canada whose data is not included in the figure had a mean annual temperature of -2 degrees Celsius. Based on the line of best fit, which of the following is closest to the predicted percent of leaf litter mass remaining in this particular forest after decomposing for 3 years? All right, well, my temperature is going to be -2 degrees Celsius, which will be about where this dash is. I'm going to follow it up straight up to my line of best fit, and I see that about 70% of the leaf litter mass will be remaining, which is what I'm asked. So my answer will be C. All right, question 19. The range of the polynomial function f is the set of real numbers less than or equal to 4. Okay, so if my range is less than or equal to 4, I can't go above that line that I just put on that graph. So any equation where I go above it, such as C and such as D, I can go ahead and X out. Next, I'm told that the zeros of f are -3 and 1, which means my x-intercepts are -3 and 1. I see I have that in A, so A will be my answer, and I don't have that in B. All right, so my answer is A. I move on. Question 20, I'll go ahead and just make sure, right? It's asking which of the following could be the function y of f of x in the xy plane, which is what I assumed it was, but always make sure. So, yep, which of the following could be the graph of y equals f of x in the xy plane? Answer is going to be A. Question 20. The average annual energy cost for a certain home is $4,334. The homeowner plans to spend $25,000 to install a geothermal heating system. The homeowner estimates the average annual energy cost will now be $2,712. Which of the following inequalities can be solved to find t, the number of years after installation at which the total amount of energy cost savings, all right, so where will our savings exceed our installation's cost? Okay, so that means our installation cost, which is $25,000, has to be less than our savings. So anything saying that 25,000 is greater than something, I can get rid of. Okay, so now I see I have 25,000 is less than that 4,300 about minus that the new energy cost, right? So that's my difference in cost. That's my savings then, right? The difference in cost is going to be my savings times time, like in my time savings times however many years out I am, has to be greater than that initial investment of $25,000. That's going to be my answer there. So my answer is going to be B. All right, question 21, they refer to the following information. Between 1985 and 2003, data was collected every 3 years on the amount of plastic produced annually in the United States in billions of pounds. The graph below shows the data in a line of best fit. The equation of the line of best fit is given, where X is the number of years since 1985 and Y is the amount of plastic produced annually in billions of pounds. All right, so now I'm asked which of the following is the best interpretation of the number 3.39 in the context of the problem. Well, 3.39 is my slope, right? It's times by x, where x is the number of years since 1985. So as I increase x, right, I go up by 1x, I'm increasing the amount of plastic that is produced annually by 3.39. So my answer is not going to be A. It's not going to be B. I look at C, the average annual plastic production. No, it's the average annual increase in billions of pounds of plastic produced per year in the United States from 1985 to 2003. Question 22, which of the following is closest to the percent increase in billions of pounds of plastic produced in the United States from 2000 to 2003? Keep in mind it said percent, not the amount. All right, so I see at 2000 is going to be 1985 plus 15. 2000 is going to be right here. I see I'm at 100. 3 years later is going to be 2003, so that'll be at 18. And I see I'm at about 110-ish, right? 109, 108, right around there. So that's going to be a 10% increase. And I don't even really have to run the math on that because none of these are even close to that. So I can go ahead and say A will be my answer there. 23, M is equal to 1800 times 1.02 to the power of T. I'm asked of the following. Okay, the equation above models the number of members M of a gym 2 years after the gym opens. Of the following, which models the number of members of the gym Q quarters after the gym opens? All right, well, if I'm switching T from years to quarters, then I now have to have my denominator be 4 and Q be my numerator, right? And we think about this, this makes sense. 4 quarters are in 1 year, so we plug in 4 for our Q. We get 4 over 4, which is 1, same as 1 year. So it's going to be the same equation, except we have Q over 4 instead of T. So my answer is going to be A there. Question 24. For the finale of a TV show, the viewers could use either social media or text message vote for their favorite of 2 contestants. The contestant receiving more than half the vote won. An estimated 10% of viewers voted. 30% of the votes were cast on social media. Contestant 2 earned 70% of the votes cast using social media and 40% of the votes cast using text message. Based on this information, which conclusion is accurate? If all viewers had voted, contestant 2 would have won. All right, well, we're told the contestant receiving more than half the vote won. We're told an estimated 10% of the viewers voted. 30% were cast on social media. Contestant 2 earned 70% of the votes cast on social media and 40% of the votes cast using a text message. Okay, we don't know how many people voted by text or by social media though, so we can't say that contestant 2, or A, if all viewers had voted, contestant 2 would have won. We don't know that, right? We can't make a statement on if all viewers had voted because we don't know what all viewers thought. And then B, viewers voting by social media were likely to be younger. It doesn't say that, and even though that may, like in the US, like potentially be true, we're not told that, so we can't make a conclusion on that. C, if all viewers who had voted by social media instead of by text message, contestant 2 would have won. No, because the means by which you voted does not affect who you voted for. And D, viewers voting by social media were more likely to prefer contestant 2 than viewers voting by text message. This is true because 70% of the votes that contestant 2 earned were from social media and only 40% of her votes were from text message. All right, question 25, population of Greenleaf, Idaho. The table above shows the population of Greenleaf, Idaho for the years 2000 and 2010. If the relationship between population and year is linear, which of the following functions P models the population of Greenleaf T years after 2000? All right, well, I see I went down in population by 862 minus 846, which gives me 16. And I see as I went down in population, my time increased by 10 years. So I went down negative 16 over 10 per year, which is equal to negative 1.6 T. I know I start in 2000 with 862 people, so my equation therefore will be P of T is equal to 862 minus that 1.6 T. All right, so my answer is A. All right, question 26. To determine the mean number of children per household in a community, Tabitha surveyed 20 families at a playground. For the 20 families surveyed, the mean number of children per household was 2.4. Which of the following statements must be true? Well, it's at a playground, first of all, right? So we know that that's a biased sample, okay? Because you can't take a survey of the amount of people in a family at a playground because it's likely going to be higher than the mean of the general population. So the mean number of children per household in the community is 2.4. No, because we have a biased sample. A determination about the mean number of children per household in the community should not be made because the sample size is too small. While 20 is a decently small sample size, it's considered large enough. So we're not going to pick that. And then C, the sampling method is flawed and may produce a biased estimate of the mean number of children per household in the community. Yes, it's flawed because it's taken at a playground where the people who have families go, right? Larger families are more likely to go to a playground. D, the sampling method is not flawed, it is. So answer C there. 27, in the xy plane, the point PR lies on the line with equation y equals x plus b, where b is a constant. The point with coordinates 2p, 5r lies on the line y equals 2x plus b. If p can't equal 0, what's the value of r over p? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to plug in our points 2p and 5r into this equation right here where my arrow is pointing. So we're going to have 5r then equals 2x. We're told that x will equal 2p, so 2 times 2p will give me 4p, 4p plus b. I'm going to go ahead and solve for what b is going to equal, and then I'm going to plug it into my equation up top. Alright, so that means b then will equal 5r minus 4p after I subtract 4p from each side. So I'm going to plug that in to my equation y equals x plus b with my points pr. Alright, well r is going to be my y value. So r will be y, and that's going to equal p, our x value, plus b. We're told b is 5r minus 4p. Okay, so p minus 4p is going to give me negative 3p. And then when I go ahead and subtract 5r from each side, I get negative 4r equals negative 3p. Now I need to get r over p. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide my right and left sides by p. So I have negative 4r over p. And now I'm going to divide each side by negative 4. Right? So now I get r over p equals negative 3 over negative 4. Negative 3 over negative 4 is equal to 3 over 4. My answer will be B. Alright, question 28. The 22 students in a health class conducted an experiment in which they recorded their pulse rates and beats per minute before and after completing a light exercise routine. The dot plots below display the results. Alright, let S1 and R1 be the standard deviation and range, respectively, of the data before exercise. Let S2 and R2 be the standard deviation and range, respectively, of the data after exercise. Which of the following is true? Alright, well, I got my range. I'm going to go ahead and do that first. Okay, range is going to be my maximum value minus my minimum value. My maximum is 88. 88 minus 56 gives me 32 is my range 1. Alright, my range 2 is going to be my maximum value minus my minimum value. 112 minus 80 is also 32, so I see my ranges are equal. I can get rid of any answer choice without those. And now I'm left with A and D, so I'm talking about my standard deviations. I'm told, are they equal or are they not equal? Alright, standard deviation is basically the square of each value from the mean, right? So I see that these values here in my first set before exercise are very concentrated around their mean, but I see down here they are much more dispersed from their mean, right? So the square of their values from their mean is going to be much higher. So the standard deviations of the two are not going to equal each other. So my answer is going to be D. Those two standard deviations are going to be very, very different values, but also R1 equals R2. So my answer is D there. Alright, question 29. A photocopy machine is initially loaded with 5,000 sheets of paper. The machine starts a large job and copies at a constant rate. After 20 minutes, it has used 30% of the paper. Which of the following equations models the number of sheets of paper P remaining in the machine M minutes after the machine started printing? Alright, well, we know that we start with 5,000 sheets, and we know after 20 minutes we use 30% of the paper, right? So that's going to be a decrease of that 30%, 0.3, times our 5,000. And now we have to set that over each minute it took, which is 20 minutes. And that's going to give us our slope. So now I'm going to go ahead and plug that into my calculator. I see I have negative 0.3 times 5,000. And that's going to give me negative 1,500 over 20, which will give me negative 75 is my slope. I'm putting M there just so you know it's slope, negative 75. I know that this is not going to be an exponential function, right? So I can go ahead and get rid of C of D off the bat anyways. And now I see I have 5,000 minus 75M as my answer B. Alright, I'm going to erase this just so I don't do anything on it with the next problem, 30. The complete graph of the function f and a table of values for the function g are shown above. The maximum value of f is k. What is the value of g of k? Alright, well the maximum value of f I see is going to be right here. Okay, so the maximum value of f is 3. So I plug in 3 then into my equation on the right for g of x. So I plug in 3 for x, right? G of k means I'm putting in 3 for x. I put in 3 for x and I see I get 6. So my answer there is going to be B. Alright, now I move on to question 31. We're on the free response now, if you want to call it that. Alright, there are 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen and 1 molecule of water. How many atoms of hydrogen are there in 51 molecules of water? Well, we know in each molecule of water, 2 atoms of hydrogen. If we have 51 molecules, we're going to multiply that by our 2 atoms of hydrogen in each one, and we're going to get 102 for our answer. 32, if x equals 1 in the equation above, what is the value of a? Alright, so we'd have 1 minus 1/2 a equals 0. I'll go ahead and add 1/2 a to each side, and I'll get 1 equals 1/2 a. I'm going to multiply each side by 2 to get a, and I see that a then will equal 2 times 1, which is 2. Alright, now I've got question 33. in the xy plane above, or in the xy plane, the equations x plus 2y equals 10 and 3x plus 6y equals c represent the same line for some constant c. What's the value of c? Well, to solve for c, I know that these are the same line, right? Same line means they have the same slope and they're written in standard form. So what I can see is I can see that I have x plus 2y. If I multiply that by 3, I'm getting 3x plus 6y. So I have to multiply my 10 by 3 as well, and that gives me c equals 30, right? 30 equals 10 times 3. My answer will be 30. That's going to equal c. All right. Question 34. On April 18, 1775, Paul Revere set off on his midnight ride from Charleston to Lexington. If he had ridden straight to Lexington without stopping, he would have traveled 11 miles in 26 minutes. In such a ride, what would the average speed of his horse have been to the nearest tenth of a mile per hour? All right, well, our average speed is going to equal our distance over time. Our distance is 11 miles, right? And our time is 26 minutes, but we're asked for miles per hour. So we're going to have to convert that to hours, 26 minutes per 60 minutes an hour, and this will give us our speed in miles per hour. I'm going to plug that into my calculator. I do 11 divided by, and then parentheses, 26 over 60, end parentheses, and that is going to give me 25 point, I'm told to round to the nearest tenth. Nearest tenth will be 4 because it's 25.38. Rounding to the nearest tenth, that is 25.4 as my answer for 34. All right, question 35. Graph of the function f is defined by f of x equals negative a half x minus 4 squared plus 10 is shown in the xy plane above. If the function g not shown is defined by negative x plus 10, what's one possible value of a such that f of a equals g of a? Okay, this value of a just means the x coordinate where they intercept because we're looking for where f of a equals g of a, right? We could think about it as x. It doesn't really matter, okay? All right, so we're going to go ahead and put this equation on our graph, see at what x point they intersect. All right, negative x plus 10, I got a y-intercept at 10. I see I have to move 2 over in order to go 1, right? So I got to go negative x, that's negative 1 over 1, negative 1 over 1, and I see that they cross at x equals 2. So my answer there is going to be 2. Try to scroll down so you can see it better. My answer there will be 2. I can go ahead and move on to question 36. In triangle RST above, point W not shown lies on RT. What is the value of cosine RSW? So I'll just go ahead and put this point on so you can just see it, right? We'll just call W right here. All right. What is the value of cosine angle RSW? So this angle here, minus the sine of angle WST, which would be this angle here. Well, here's what I see when I see this. I see I have this 90-degree angle at angle S, right? I see that that whole thing is 90. Well, that means if I was to write something like this, just to give you a visualizer, ABC, 90-degree angle here, right? If I was going to write the cosine of angle A, right? So we'll go cosine angle A, that's going to equal my adjacent AB over my hypotenuse, which is AC. Now if I was to write my sine then of the opposite angle, right? So 90 minus this angle here gives me this angle here, angle C. 90 minus angle A gives me angle C. Well, and I took the sine of that, right? So the opposite over the hypotenuse, I'm also going to get AB over AC, right? That's AB over AC if you can't tell. So those two equations I see are the same. Well, since this right angle here is 90, I know that whatever this angle is, then my other angle has to be 90 minus that angle. So this is the same situation, right? And since we see that these two are equal, these two equations written here, we're going to have a number here, right? We'll just call it x. Minus x is all it's going to be. So my answer, therefore, will equal 0. So my answer is going to be 0. All right, question 37. All right, I'm given a bunch of information with a data table. I'll read it. When a patient receives a penicillin injection, the kidneys begin removing the penicillin from the body. The table and graph above show the penicillin concentration in a patient's bloodstream at 5-minute intervals for the 20 minutes immediately following a one-time penicillin injection. All right, question 37. According to the table, how many more micrograms of penicillin are present in 10 milliliters of blood that are drawn from the patient 5 minutes after injection than are in 8 milliliters of blood drawn 10 minutes after injection? All right, I'm going to start with the first part. How much micrograms of penicillin are present in 10 milliliters 5 minutes after the injection, right? All right, so I'm going to use my table. I see I got 5 minutes after the injection. I have 152 micrograms per milliliter, but I was told that I have 10 milliliters. So that's going to be 152, right? That's my micrograms per milliliter times my 10 milliliters, and that's going to give me 1,520. Now I got to subtract what my next value is. My next value, it says, is how much micrograms are present in 8 milliliters of blood drawn 10 minutes after the injection. All right, 10 minutes after the injection, my concentration in micrograms per milliliter are 118. So that's going to be 118 times it said I had 8 milliliters of blood. So when I multiply 118 by 8 on my calculator, let's see what I get. I will get 944. So I'll put that in here so you can see 944. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract that 944 from 1520. So I got 1520 minus 944. And that's going to give me 576, and that will be the difference, right? That's how much more is contained in that first given set than the other set. So our answer is going to be 576. All right. Question 38. The penicillin concentration in micrograms per milliliter in the patient's bloodstream T minutes after the penicillin injection is modeled by the function P, defined by P of T is equal to 200B T over 5. If P approximates the values in the table to within 10 micrograms per milliliter, what's the value of B rounded to the nearest tenth? All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my table, right? I see I have T over 5. So I know if I plug in 5 for T, I'm going to get B to the power 1, right? Which is very useful because then it's just 200B. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to say T is 5. So I'm going to cross out this T. I'm going to put in 5. So that means I have to use the data from the 5 minutes after, right? So I go find 5 minutes after. See, it's right here where this arrow is pointing. All right, so I know I have a penicillin concentration, micrograms per milliliter, then of 152. So I know that 152 has to equal that 200 times B, and that B is raised to the first, so I don't have to show it. So now to solve for B, because I'm asked for the value of B, I'm going to divide each side by 200. 150 over 200 is going to give me, plug it in my calculator, 152 over 200 gives me 0.76, but I don't put that in my answer because I'm told to round to the nearest tenth, right? 0.76 rounded to the nearest tenth is 0.8 because our hundreds digit is a 6, so we round up to 0.8. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you saw some efficient ways to get through those questions on the math with calculator section. Hopefully you got all your questions right, or at least almost all of them right. Tomorrow what we're going to do is it's going to be a designated, personalized SAT reading section study time. So that means that you're going to be going through your reading passages and questions from practice tests 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, checking any questions that you got wrong, understanding why you got them wrong, and how you're going to get to the correct answer next time, because ultimately that is the goal, that you get the correct answer next time. You can't go in the past and change that you got them wrong on previous practice tests, but you can understand what you did wrong and use that to formulate a new plan to make sure that you get the questions that are similar to it correct on the next SAT practice test and on the SAT. So if there's anything that you were unsure of with any questions on the SAT reading section, go back, make sure you take tomorrow, because this will be tomorrow's video, and figure them out. So I'll talk more about that tomorrow. With that, let's go ahead and end today's video. As always, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'll have the donation link in the description as well if you'd like to donate. Any private tutoring, any private college admissions consulting I'm doing will also be linked in the description as well. So as always, make sure to have a great day, and thank you for watching.